Hey guys, my name is Gabby, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming my December wrap-up. In the month of December, I read a total of 7 books, and it wasn't like my best reading month, and I still did manage to finish my reading goal for the year, and I ended up reading 112 books this year, so I'm okay with it. Let's just jump right into my wrap-up. So the first book that I read this month was The Wife Between Us. This was one of the December Book of the Month selections, so I was really excited to read this because I had heard nothing but good things about it on Goodreads, and I do think that the Goodreads description says something like, prepare for the read of your life, and like one of the best suspense novels ever. I ended up hating this book. It ended up being on one of my worst books of the year list. In that video, I talked about it. This is a thriller about this girl named Vanessa, and she used to be married to this guy named Richard, and now you find out that Richard is engaged to a new girl, and it's basically just about Vanessa kind of like stalking them. There's like this weird plot twist that happens about like halfway through the book that doesn't really change anything though, and this book was not a suspense. Like, it was so boring, and I even wrote in the 200-page mark, like, is anything ever gonna happen in this book? But yeah, I didn't like this book at all. I ended up giving it 1 star, and I'm so tired of seeing this trope that I don't think is a good plot twist, and I'm seeing it so much in thrillers lately, and it really like drives me crazy. So the next book I read this month was The Butterfly Project by Emma Scott. This ended up being one of my favorite books of the year. It did make it into my top 3, so I really love this book. I was completely taken off guard by how much I loved this book. It follows this girl named Zelda who writes these graphic novels that are inspired by a situation she experienced in her real life. She witnessed her sister getting kidnapped when she was 14 years old, and she couldn't do anything to stop it, and so now she writes these graphic novels about this hero who saves children from child molesters. Then it also follows this guy named Beckett who recently just got out of prison. He's been in prison for the last 2 years, works as a bike messenger in New York City, and on the weekends he works as a busboy. By chance, Zelda and Beckett become roommates when they're put in a really desperate situation. Slowly, they just start to kind of open up to each other and become friends and fall for each other, and seriously, one of the most gorgeous romance novels I've ever read. I mean, this book just really got to me, and it does remind me a lot of like Eliza and Her Monsters because of the whole like she's writing graphic novels. So if you liked Eliza and Her Monsters because of that, I really do think you would like this too. It's more like new adult though. There are little bits of like her graphic novel throughout this book, which I think was really cool. Like, you get to see some of what she's working on. Just Beckett is like so precious, and I know he's like a criminal and like he just got out of prison, but like, oh my god, he's just like the most caring character ever, and I really adored him, and him and Zelda are so cute in this. I gave this book 5 stars. It was perfection. The next book I picked up this month was Bonfire by Krysten Ritter, and this is one that I was kind of highly anticipating because it's Krysten Ritter, who is Jessica Jones and Jane from Breaking Bad. She's a pretty popular actress, and this was her first novel that she's ever written, and it's this thriller novel. It follows this girl who's a lawyer, and she's going back to her small town that she was raised in. In this small town, she was bullied by these girls. This book sounded like it could have potential, but unfortunately it ended up being pretty boring for me. The main character gets involved in this random love triangle with these 2 guys, and it doesn't really go anywhere. The whole thing happening in this town is that there's like this water contamination, and it just ends up being this really like boring lawyer talk throughout this book that just kind of like put me to sleep. I was mainly interested in the relationship between the main character and the girls that bullied her, but I don't think it was explored as much as it could have been. I don't know, I ended up giving this one 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite. It's not very memorable. The next thing I read was a reread of Simon vs. Homo Sapiens Agenda. I read this book a couple years ago, but I recently just watched the Love, Simon trailer, and I just like got all the feels, and I wanted to reread it. I remember it being one of my favorite books when I read it, and so I read it again, and I loved it again, and I did do a full book talk on this like way back in the day. I think it was my first ever full book talk, so it might be super cringy, but I'll put a link in the description for that if you do want to see it. This is a young adult contemporary novel that follows this boy named Simon who's gay, but he hasn't come out of the closet yet, and then he's emailing back and forth with this guy named Blue who goes to his school, but he doesn't know who he is, and then this guy Marcus starts blackmailing him basically, and trying to get him to like do things for him, or else he's gonna like expose his emails to the whole school. And it's such a cute contemporary story, and I really love Simon and his character. And this time I did end up giving it 4.5 out of 5 stars again, just like I did the first time. It was so cute. The next book I read was The Last Miss Parrish by Liv Constantine. This book I read for a few reasons. One of them was that it was a page habit book that I got sent a few months ago, tabbed by the authors, so I got to read like some thoughts that they had while they were writing it. Another reason I read it is because this was Reese Witherspoon's December book of the month pick, so I wanted to like read along with her book club for once. This is a thriller novel that follows this girl named Amber who gets involved in the lives of this married couple. Basically what happens is that she meets this girl named Daphne in the gym, and Daphne is married to this guy named Jackson. They're a very rich and wealthy couple, and they have 2 daughters, and Amber has basically stalked this couple online, and she knows everything about them. And so when she meets Daphne, she makes up this story about how her sister had cystic fibrosis, because she knows that Daphne's sister died of cystic fibrosis, and that she runs this like foundation for people with cystic fibrosis. And so she just makes up this story, and then Daphne immediately like feels bad for her, and they become instant friends. And like then Amber starts getting more and more involved in their lives. And this book I thought was really good up until the halfway point, and then there's this plot twist that's almost the exact same plot twist as The Wife Between Us. And like I keep saying that I'm tired of seeing this twist in thrillers, and like I'm serious, I'm seeing it in so many thrillers now. Like, if you don't know, like if you want to know what I'm talking about, because it is kind of a spoiler, so that's why I'm not saying it in these videos, but if you want to know what I'm talking about, I'll put the link in my description for both my Goodreads reviews for these that go into more spoilery content. But like for real, I'm so sick of seeing this as a plot twist in thrillers. Like it's not a plot twist, it doesn't make me feel good. It's like, what the fuck, this isn't good writing. It's just not. Like, you couldn't think of anything else. I don't know, maybe I'm just being nitpicky, but I did end up giving this one 3 stars because I did enjoy the first half a lot more than the second half of this book, and because I do think Amber's character was so interesting, and the way she got obsessed with them, and the like her inner narrations of being this like kind of psychopath, was really fun for me to read. So I did like this one a lot more than The Wife Between Us because of that, but still, it's like, come on, man, it's like the same exact thing. 6th book I read this month was Roomies by Christina Lauren. This is Christina Lauren's newest book that just came out this month. It's a new adult romance that follows this girl named Holland. It's kind of hard to explain what this book is about. So Holland's uncles run this huge successful Broadway show. They suddenly become in need of a musician when one of the main stars of their Broadway show leaves, and they're like, shit, we need a new musician. Holland is like, hey, I know this guitarist that I watch every single day on the subway, maybe we should get him an audition. And so they do, and they love it, and they think he's perfect for the part. Then they find out that he's an illegal immigrant from Ireland. He doesn't have a work visa. Holland offers to marry him so that he can stay in the country and stay and work with them. Then they slowly start to fall for each other after they're married. And this book was really cute. It wasn't my favorite from Christina Lauren. I couldn't really stand Calvin a lot in the beginning, but he definitely grew on me more towards the end. The best part of this book, though, and the main reason why I liked it so much, is because of Holland and her desire to want to write. I just found her so relatable, possibly the most relatable Christina Lauren character so far, because of her desire to write. Like, she just had a lot of really inspiring quotes to me that were really relatable. Like, she says, "For nearly a year I've been trying to come up with an idea for my first novel and nothing is there. Is it because books aren't about side characters and those are the only voices in my head?" What the fuck? Like, that's something that I actually think about. I just completely understand her with that quote, because I've always felt like my life isn't interesting enough to be a main character in a story, you know what I mean? Like, I would definitely be the side character in somebody else's story. And I love the way that she thinks like that too about her own life. Like, maybe the reason why I can't come up with any good ideas for my own novels because I only have ideas for side characters. Love the way she talks about how she doesn't know if she's like living the hardest time of her life right now, or if these are going to be like the carefree days that she looks back on. She says, "What will I feel when I think of these times? Will I think, wow, those were the hardest days, trying to figure out who I was? Or will I think those days were so easy and carefree with so little responsibility?" Always thinking about that too. I'm like, God, I feel like I'm taking this time for granted right now and I'm so stressed out or whatever, and I'm possibly just going to be more stressed out in the future. It's just like, how do you know? Like, I love that she thinks about this because I literally think about that all the time. The romance was okay, but I really loved Holland's character. She ended up being the reason why I enjoyed this book so much, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. The last book I read this year was Up for the Challenge by Riley, Hart, and Devon McCormack. This is a male-male romance that follows these guys named Ethan and Sean. So Sean is like really openly gay and Ethan considers himself to be straight. Ethan goes out to this gay bar after he gets out of work because he's going with one of his coworkers who's gay, and it's like his birthday party and whatever. He gets hit on by like all these guys and he kind of starts to like freak out a little bit, and so he goes and like sits at the other side of the bar where Sean is, and then Sean is like kind of like can pick up on the fact that he's straight, and he's like, why are you in this bar? And he like explains to him, and then when he's leaving the bar that night, Ethan gets jumped in like the back alley of the bar and he gets like held at gunpoint like he's getting robbed, and then Sean comes to his like rescue and like saves him from the situation, and the other guy just like finally leaves, and it's like this huge dramatic situation. They start to become friends after that because he thinks he like saved his life. They also both have something that connects them, and that was like the death of a family member. Like Ethan, both of his parents died when he was a kid, and then Sean lost his older brother. This story was really cute, but it was kind of forgettable at the end of the day. I mean, I really enjoyed their relationship together, but this book didn't have much more than their relationship. I mean, there just wasn't much more to the story, but this one was just okay. I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. Last night, we got power outage at my house for 12 hours, and it was pretty crazy. I got home from work around like 4 o'clock last night, and the lights had been out since 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and so the entire night we had no power last night. So I did manage to start The Secret History, and I got 200 pages in. Obviously, I knew I wasn't gonna finish this last night, but I just wanted to start on it, and so far it's pretty interesting. I'm like 230 pages in, so the power finally went back on at like 1 in the morning, and it was the longest 12 hours. What was the best book that you read in December, and what was the worst book that you read in December, and how many books did you read in December? Yeah, let me know, and I will see you guys next time.
You can fuck with me if you wanted to. These expensive, these is red bottoms.
I'm sorry if you hear like snow sounds out there. My dad's trying to get the ice out of our driveway right now, and it's like right by my window, so it's probably really loud. I love them. The next book I read, this one was can't even fucking speak.